Okay, I'm going to make a class. Let's call it cow. We've used the cow in several other videos. Public string name gets set. Public int age gets set. And let's do private int num heartbeats get set. Like so. And then I want to make a public void beat method that every time we call it, we're going to increase the number of heartbeats that this cow has had, or maybe the number of beatings this cow has had. Either way. Private void digest. Okay, console write line grind. I heard that cows chew their food and then regurgitate it and then swallow it and back and forth. And anyway, grind. All right, good deal. Let's make a cow. Cow Betsy. Our beloved Betsy from several examples. Let me spell her name right. We need to have respect for Betsy. Let's say, let's just use this shorthand. Name is Betsy. And the age, let's just say she's 5 years old. I don't really know how long cows live, especially if they taste good. All right, Betsy dot beat. Let me Control C this. Control C. Control V. Beat. Right, I think that's 5 beats. And then I would like to say Betsy dot console write line num heartbeats, but I can't because I made it private. Now I could make this public and then make the setter private. That's totally legal with properties, but then that would ruin my example. So I'm going to make it all private again. And let's say I'm real desperate. I want to get in there and view the number of heartbeats for whatever random reason. Let's do this. I'm going to say property info, just like we saw in the previous video, using system.reflection. Prop info gets type of cow. Hey, give me the property called num heartbeats. All right, and then let's just see what happens here. I'm going to put a breakpoint here, hit a 5, and it's null. It's null. Any idea? The name it doesn't exist. Let's get rid of that. Any idea why it would be null? Hopefully it's pretty obvious. Hey, Jamie, that's private. You're trying to get a property. I'm trying to get a private. It's private. You can't access private. Oh, yes, I can. Watch this. Get property. Let's look at the overloads here. Binding flags. We haven't seen this yet, but it's an enum. Binding flags is an enum. And if I say dot here, all these things that say, hey, when I'm binding to this property, I'm looking for something specific. And I can't remember what the default value for binding flags is if I don't pass it in. I'm sure I could figure it out, but I'm not too worried about it. Binding flags. Hey, give me the non-public properties. Okay, I know non-public is not part of the default binding flags. All right, so, and why they're called flags, they're bit flags. Go watch the enum bit videos if you want, but 0, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. They're powers of 2, thus they're flags, the little booleans stuffed inside of an int. You can watch the video on enums if you want on that. Anyway, give me the non-public one. Okay, let's run this. Prop info. It's still null. Oh, why is it still null? What other binding flags could we OR in here? Let's look. Binding flags. Create instance. Declared only default. Get filled, ignore case. We cased it right, didn't we? Num heartbeats. Yeah, we're good. Ignore case, ignore return instance. Invoke. I wonder what this instance does. Let's try instance. F5. Hey, look at that. We had to be explicit and say, hey, it's got to be an instance property, not a static one. This is an instance property, not a static one. And then it's got to be non-public. Well, it's definitely non-public. Okay. So, I got this property info. I wonder. Let's see. Num heartbeats returns an int. So, int num beats gets prop info. Hey, go invoke prop info dot. Oh, sorry. Get value. I'm thinking it's a method info. Hey, go give me the value on Betsy for yourself, and then it's not an indexer, so I'm forced to pass null there, and yeah, it's going to return an int. So let's cast that runtime, compile time type down to an int num beats, and I'm going to console write line num beats here. All right, Control F5. Look at that. I got my 5. All right, that's the number of times I called beat. Now, it probably looks like I'm touching this cow's private parts, which I am, to be honest. That's exactly what's going on here. But I know some ranchers, and boy, I tell you, when it's calving season, things get interesting. So don't stress that. I do want to point out, though, using reflection, I can go and access private data members all I want to, if I have permission to do so. That gets back into code access security. I know I've mentioned code access security before in previous videos, but basically there has to be administrator privileges and all this stuff that says, hey, I want to access the private data members in here. I want to use reflection on them. And that's totally cool, as long as code access security, go Google that or look that up if you're really interested in it. As long as I have the access permissions, which I do, I'm definitely an administrator on here, then yeah, go at it, go for it. And code access security is a pretty deep topic. I'm not sure if I'll get around to doing a playlist on it or not, but I do want to give you an example of where we would use code access security. I work at the school, and we do programming contests, and students have to upload their code, and we have to load their code dynamically into their own app domains, which I showed you how to do that with the add-in videos. And we have to run the code and make sure that the result is correct. Well, if a student does something that, say they want to recursively traverse the hard drive and delete every single file on there, we definitely do not want that to happen. So we had to use code access security to say, hey, only let them do this, that, and this, and that, but other than that, don't let them do it. Okay, anyway. One other thing about this, private, when we say private, that's not a security measure. I remember when I was a brand new programmer and I learned about private. And I was like, ooh, private, this is secure. Nobody can see this, it's mine. It's da-da-da. No, that's not what private means. I think private's a bad word for it. The word private means you need not be concerned about this. Okay, maybe for some reason when I make this cow class, you don't need to know anything about the number of heartbeats. I'm just tracking it internally, and maybe when Betsy beats 1 billion times, she'll finally kick over and kick the bucket. You should have slaughtered her sooner than that. Anyway, private means you need not be concerned about it. Think about your car. You sit down in your car. All right, what are the things you're concerned about? You're concerned about the gas pedal and turning the car on and off and switching the gears. But other than that, all that complex stuff under the hood, chances are you're not concerned about it, and you need not be concerned about it. But if you're curious, go ahead and open up the hood. Start taking things apart. See what happens. That's exactly what we're doing here. We're kind of opening the hood of our car. So private's not a security measure. It's just saying, hey, don't worry about it. Okay, and public means, yeah, this is totally something you should be concerned about. The protected means, well, if you inherit from me, then yeah, you probably want to know about this and access it. So yada yada yada. There you go.